Hey everybody, welcome back to Bones and Brews. So this evening, for the family, we're making smoked pizzas. So I thought I would share with you guys some things we do for pizzas around the house. First of all, we buy some dough from a local market. It comes in about a pound of the pre-made pizza dough that they make fresh there daily. So we just like using their dough. It makes it much easier. My wife's really great at rolling that dough. She has experience working in the pizza industry back in college. And 20 plus years later, she still hasn't forgotten that skill, so that's why I love her. So what we're also using is we're gonna make 3 pizzas for this episode. On all 3 pizzas, we're using a cast iron pizza pan made by Lodge. Pizza dough is already rolled out for this first pizza. We've also used a meat tenderizer just to kind of poke at the dough so it really doesn't create any air bubbles in the bottom of our pizza as we're cooking it. So because my kids are probably more hungry than me right now, I'm going to go ahead and make their pizza first. It's going to be really simple. So we'll start with a little pizza sauce. And in my house, my kids like it light on the sauce. But for you guys, do whatever you need to do. All right. Next, we're going to throw in a little bit of. Got a great 6 cheese blend here. It's great for pizzas. Go ahead and just sprinkle that on. All right. Get that closed up. I'm using the Volpe really good pepperoni here. We're going to throw that on the pizza for the kiddos. So for our 3 smoked pizzas, we're actually going to be, I've already fired up my big Humphreys Pint smoker behind us. And because it'll be much easier, just do all the pizzas at the same time. If you don't have that option, you can do 1 at a time. Or if your smoker's big enough, maybe do 2 at a time. Really just do whatever works for your family. Yeah, for us, we've done them sometimes on the Weber smoker, just 1 at a time and just kind of eat as they come off the smoker. So we're just kind of snacking through the evening. We've got the fire pit going behind us, so that's what we're going to be doing this evening. All right, so also on this pizza, I made some bacon, so I crumbled that a little bit and just sprinkle that on there as well. And then I'm going to hit it with a little bit of fresh ground pepper. And this will be the first one to go into the smoker. You can see inside the smoker, I've even got some smoked queso going. It'll be ready soon. We're going to use that for an appetizer beforehand. For our second pizza, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to use some fresh ingredients from our garden and make it more like a flatbread instead of a pizza. We did the same thing with the dough as we laid it out on the cast iron here, but I'm going to do something a little different. So first of all, I bought this marinated mozzarella balls, and they're really small mozzarella balls, but I bought it for a reason. I'm going to use that oil that's in these mozzarella balls, and I'm going to brush the oil on the dough first. And that flavored oil is just going to give this such a great taste. Now, I don't want to put too much oil in there because then the dough is going to get really soggy. So I'm going to be really kind of cautious on how I do that. The next thing I'm going to do is I've got some fresh cherry tomatoes I sliced in half from my garden. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle those on. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take these mozzarella balls. I'm just going to really just kind of place them all over the pizza. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I got some prosciutto, so I'm going to take a couple of pieces of that. I'm getting a little crazy with this here, and I'm not even going to shred or anything. I'm just going to tear it in a couple pieces and just kind of throw it across the pizza here. I don't know about you guys, but I love this stuff. All right. Then I'm going to come over here. I've got some fresh basil from my garden that I kind of chopped up a little bit, so I'm just going to sprinkle that across here as well. Then I'm going to come with my 6 cheese blend, and I'm really just going to grab just a little bit and kind of hit it just lightly across the top. Finish it off with a little fresh ground pepper. And that'll be the next one to go into the smoker. And for our third pizza, this one's gonna get a little spicy. I'm actually gonna try something different I haven't done before. We're gonna start with my pizza sauce again. And I'm putting gloves on because I've got something pretty spicy going on here in a minute. Go ahead and spread that pizza sauce around. All right, so that's good to go there. Now I can come in and hit it with some of the cheese. All right, we got a good texture of cheese there. I'm using that 6 cheese blend. Next, I'm going to hit it with some pepperoni. Also, the remainder of the bacon I didn't use in that first pizza. And then, I've got some ghost peppers growing in my garden. So I minced a little bit of ghost pepper with some garlic, some fresh garlic. And I'm just going to take that and just kind of sprinkle it all over my pizza here. This is definitely going to give this pizza a lot of heat, a lot of kick. We've been doing this a lot this summer with habaneros. But we thought tonight we'd try with ghost pepper since they're really starting to take off in our garden. I actually only used 1 large ghost pepper, so we'll see how much heat this really adds. All right, I'm gonna take off that glove. I am gonna throw in now a little bit of fresh shredded Parmesan on this one actually. Just to give it a little bit of a different texture than my other pizzas. Still gonna finish it off with a little fresh ground pepper. And we're going to throw this one in the smoker as well. So I'm trying to keep that temperature around 275 on the smoker. Hopefully these pizzas take about an hour to cook. To be honest, you really just have to keep an eye on your pizza. Look for that crust. If it's really getting crispy around the edge, everything's nice and done across the top of that pizza, it's probably ready. Some folks might warm up their cast iron pans just so they get a much more crispier texture on their crust. Because we made such a thin crust, we didn't do that this time, but really it's really your option and how you do that depending on the thickness of that crust you're using at home. So we'll come back and check these pizzas here in just a little bit. All right, as you can see, it's getting dark out. We've got the fire pit going behind us in the backyard tonight so we can enjoy some pizza by the fire. We just pulled off all 3 pizzas from the smoker and they are ready to roll. But you know what? I'll give you a look at these. We started with that kid's pizza, which was simply the pepperoni and the bacon. So you can take a look at that pizza here on the cast iron. Then we had the pizza with more like a flatbread, to be honest, where I use that oil, the fresh basil, fresh cherry tomatoes, and then we use that mozzarella that was in that mozzarella oil in the pizza, as well as prosciutto across the top. This one, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty excited about tasting this evening. And then last but not least was the one that brought the heat. Pepperoni, bacon, and then that minced garlic with the minced ghost pepper. That ghost pepper fresh from our garden as well. And we sprinkled that fresh Parmesan right across the top of this one. All 3 pizzas are gonna be delicious. We're gonna simply enjoy them this evening. I'm sure there's gonna be leftovers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner tomorrow as well. So as I was pulling off the pizzas, you know, it was beer time. So I had to open up myself a beer. Tonight I had Scale of Complexity, the Citra edition from Four Hands here in St. Louis. Grapefruit and lime aromas, but also those Citra hops, you can really smell it on the front end when you just taste this beer. And I've poured one here for you to look at, nice and hazy. Looks like a hazy IPA. And definitely tastes like one as well, but that grapefruit, you can definitely pick up the hints of that grapefruit. I love the taste of this beer. Might be one of my favorite Scale of Complexity editions Four Hands has come out with here in St. Louis. But with all these different pizzas, you don't always have to have a beer. You can always have a great glass of wine. So here in episode 9, for the first time ever, we're gonna break out a guest. She helped spin the dough based on her skills from Shakespeare's Pizza in Columbia, Missouri. I'll introduce my wife to you. Here's Erin.
Thank you. All right, so pairing wine with any kind of barbecue is probably one of the hardest things I think to do. So what I brought for you tonight though is a perfect pair, and I'll talk about another one as well. This is a Zinfandel, and this is the 2018, the Resident Zinfandel from Scout and Cellar Wines. Zins are great to go with anything barbecue because they are bold, but they're also fruit forward. And so what that does is it kind of gives a nice complement to any kind of spice that you're getting and those kind of smoked flavors. But on the back end, it is more earthy, and this one has some baking spices in it like vanilla and cinnamon. Not added, but those are just the flavors, right? And so that's going to really complement a lot of that heat, especially in that ghost pepper one that does scare me a little bit. But I'm going to try it. I promised I would, even though this one's more my jam. So this is a great wine. Any kind of Zinfandel will be great. Now, fruit forward might scare some of you red wine lovers out there, but I will say this is why I not only recommend Zins, but I recommend Scout and Cellar wine in particular, because there are no added sugars. So you're not going to get that sickly, sweet kind of fruit flavor in it. You're going to get a real rich and robust, it's still a bold wine. All of Scout and Cellar's wines are completely pesticide, chemical free as well, and they have absolutely no added sugar, so you know you're getting an amazing bottle of wine with Scout and Cellar every time. Another kind of more rare wine that I love pairing with barbecue, and trust me as his wife, I have to find good wines to pair with barbecue, is an Italian wine called a Primitivo. Scout and Cellar has a great one from Che Fico, which means how cool in Italian. The Primitivos are very similar to a Zen, But on the back end, instead of like those baking spices, you're gonna get a little more like spice. So like more of a pepper taste on the back end, which I love. I love complex wines. I love them to be bold, have a lot of flavor, but have like different layers as we go. Because it really, like, his barbecue has great flavors as you go, so it's a perfect complement. So, cheers, everyone.
Cheers. All right. Oh, so
smooth.
good.
So smooth.
So good. So if you want more information on the beer or the Scout and Cellar wines that Aaron were talking about, please check the description of this episode. There'll be links there for you to see everything that we've talked about this evening, from the cast irons to the recipes to the beer and the wine. Thanks for joining us for this edition, the pizza edition of Bones and Brews Barbecue. Until next time, we'll see you.
Can we eat now?
We can definitely eat now.
Yes.
Ha!
I'm hungry. All right.